Okay.
God bless you for that.
Not Mike.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tori Gladiators, the show where we discuss debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hello, I am Larry.
I am Charlie.
I'm Tori.
And I'm Josh. And Charlie, it's great to have you back on again.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Unfortunately, Jesse hasn't been feeling well.
Feel better, Jesse. Eat lots of cookies.
So Charlie's been... everybody's actually been taking steps to filling in. Both Charlie and Tori. Both are and have been valuable assets to the Gladiator family.
Bless you.
But today we're going to be going over a short story from a Nobel Prize winning author.
A Nobel Prize winning author?
Yep, Heinrich Boll.
That's what he said.
And we're going to be going over The Man with the Knives, which is a short story about a knife thrower.
Right.
And the discussion starter that I have for this one is, if you feel it applies, in what way is this story not your ordinary piece about a knife thrower and his subject?
Well, don't throw knives in the first place and you won't have problems. And if you do, call 911, because they can help you really easily.
This guy's a...
From a Nobel Prize winning author.
A Nobel Prize winning author?
Yep, Heinrich Boll.
That's what he said.
And we're going to be going over The Man with the Knives, which is a short story about a knife thrower.
Right.
And the discussion starter that I have for this one is, if you feel it applies, in what way is this story not your ordinary piece about a knife thrower and his subject?
Well, don't throw knives in the first place and you won't have problems. And if you do, call 911, because they can help you really easily.
This guy's a trained professional, though, so...
No, I know.
We're good.
No, I understand. I mean, I'm a trained idiot.
It's got to be the setting, right? Like that's the thing that makes it unusual is the fact that this is happening in a completely desolated or decimated. I meant.
I would say setting and
Decimated.
background and what the character, who the person really is, and it's not just about any old. You get background information about the about Jupp.
Yeah.
Jump.
He's very human, which is surprising. It's not this huge, like, bravado...
Yes, in a way.
Yeah, he's not like a big mountain guy.
But
like,
he wants to make...
No.
He wants to make do with his talent, and his talent is knife throwing, and he's a stunt person. He's somebody that wants to engage in...
a risk taker in a way. And I don't say that to be
I would say
derogatory.
things that you may find at a circus show.
Yeah.
And a performer.
Oh, that's my house.
It's like it's something you may find in.
Well, they call it a
Yeah.
vaudeville. It's a vaudeville.
Yeah, it is a vaudeville.
Because vaudeville is very popular when the story takes place.
Even before.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, vaudeville was 30s and 40s.
What I find interesting is the juxtaposition between you have a war-torn town that they're walking through, and then this man is throwing knives.
Yeah, Heinrich Boll had a lot of post-World War II reflections within his works. He was a German citizen and a Catholic. And he often explored both in his literature. And the mention about the POW, him being a POW is probably the strongest part in the character.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jupp than his character. But,
yeah, I would agree. With
and
that.
I think one of the most powerful parts is when he lost his parents, and the only thing he went after was the flannel bag, which he deems as a strange thing, and how people generally go after the strange things but not the essentials.
Yeah, that's
Like
what he
that
says.
show, Stranger Things.
Kind of, but not.
And yet from that bag, he was able to completely build his life. right? Like he sells the utensils that he can't use. It says he lives off that for the first year of post-wardom, and then the knives he uses to make a living
So
after.
this random object that is bequeathed to him by a family friend kind of almost sets him off in the path that he, takes to being the knife thrower. Because I don't think, if I remember correctly, he wasn't a knife thrower or had any sort of affinity towards throwing knives prior to owning these knives.
But I think that's his connection with the knives is
Absolutely.
what makes the man with the knives, the term, and the title all the more meaningful.
Absolutely. So then that roundabout of these random items that seemingly seemed unnecessary to save kind of become his saving grace in the end. So.
And while the way that he pitches it like the perfect businessman, but it's not, while he has that mentality where he's looking to make a name for himself through this passion of his, there's still a much more meaningful connection to this and an answer to why. But I also made the reason that that people go after the strange things is because they're strange to who? Because these strange things per se, the essential things, if it's a necessity like a bed or a chair or food or water, you can always get them in some other capacity. You can always buy, you can always purchase more food, you can acquire more water, you can always find a place where you can sleep and feel comfortable.
Just like money, just like anything like that.
But when it comes to items of sentiment, like your grandmother's antique teapot, or your distant relatives' dog tags during the war.
Things that are unique because of the sentimental value that is tied to it. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the things that cannot be replaced.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they're not, even if other people don't find them to be
essential,
meaningful. Yeah, they don't find it essential.
Isn't that interesting though? Because why do you think that this the mother saved them in the first place? Maybe they were an heirloom. Maybe they were something. Maybe that is why she gave them to the
I'm fairly certain that's why they said that's why it was saved. It was a fancy heirloom piece that was the mother's. That's what I thought at any rate.
I don't remember. I don't remember that.
And in a way, there's a dual effect. It becomes a item of sentiment and an essential item at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it made all the different. It made a great impact on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, knives also
being able to possess
and use
them.
Yeah, knives are also. We use them for, the sport and eating. Well, we also use knives for other things too, for survival. I mean, some people.
It's literally a tool of survival for them at this point. Yeah.
I mean, most people I know, they carry what's called a pocket knife. My dad has a whole collection of pocket knives. He sells them. He buys them. I'm not going to go.
Are there any Swiss Army?
He had one, I think, when I was younger. He sold it and he got, I think, $200 or $300, but...
Which is interesting. Somebody like that carries around a pocket knife. You have it in your pocket, and that's deemed perfectly fine, but if you carry around a box full of cutlery, 12 to 13 different knives like that...
It would be suspicious, especially in New Jersey.
And yet, this guy is known for that. So I like that little quirkiness to it as well.
He's a performer. So he has a different impression.
I could go on to say, with the Scots pipes and drums, some people, they have a dirk, and that's a mini, to me it's a mini sewer, and yes,
like
they are real.
Dagger.
Yeah,
like
and they are real. They are, because, there's a story, but I'm not going to go into it, and we all carry what's called a skindu, and it's a knife in the sock. That's what it translates to.
The other thing, which I found completely juxtaposed as well, he's a cowboy. In his performance, which usually think of a quick draw.
You think with a 6-shooter.
But he throws knives.
Yeah.
So he's a quick draw in a different sense.
I gotta slice your cheese.
Yeah, and it's that nice, it's a weird little twist on being like a cowboy and having that whole entire performance, which I thought was a fun little... the descriptions of backstage, I think, were very spot on, just from a personal standpoint. An actor,
it was interesting how he talked about the women are too scared and the men want too much money.
See,
that as well, yeah.
To me, the thing that was most interesting about this story was the narrator's journey and how he like comes into this seemingly, right? Like, did you guys get this too? Let me ask you, where he's just going to watch. He thinks at first,
Yeah.
and then by the time it's over, he's got a job.
Yeah, he's the main part of the performance.
Yeah.
So
He,
yeah.
Jupp is able to talk him into it, which
But
Doesn't even
never
talk
asks him.
into it.
Really.
Yeah.
Like he just says, "Are you ready?" Like that's
Yeah,
the
are you
closest-
game? And he's
Yeah.
just like,
But yeah, we don't get as much. What we primarily get out of the narrator is the fact that he is he's just making ends meet. He's not really. When Jupp asks him what he's been doing,
he literally says, I work hand to mouth.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And he complains about his shoulder, and he says, that he's working breaking rocks. He had to break 75 rocks on that,
Yeah, there's
that
like
piece
this-
of bread.
Split moment where I absolutely love it. He's like, yeah, my shoulder's bothering me. I have to go split rocks again tomorrow. Who cares if I get hit by a knife?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow, though.
And that makes it all the easier for Jupp to talk him into doing this.
He
kinda
doesn't
almost
even
at the
really
bottom
do
of the
it,
barrel.
There's no conversation. It's just like...
Because he does make mention of the fact that he feels a bit scared, and then Jupp says that nothing to worry about, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I love that part. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire book is that explanation of being backstage and him just
Short
turning and
story?
be like, short story, thank you. My apologies. But in this piece, yeah. Of him just kind of turning and be like, so, the game?
Yeah.
And he's just like,
And something I wanted to make mention to is, do you think it was impactful that the story ended the way that it did?
Yes.
Because it could have very well ended with a mistake.
Sure.
I can't forget thinking about Capital of the World, even though that's more about fighting and about bullfighting. But the sharp objects and how it doesn't end so positively for that one, but for something like for The Man with the Knives, it becomes a success, and Jupp and the narrator are now a successful act.
I feel like with the title Man with the Knives, you're expecting something dour. You're
That's what I
expecting
did. I was
something.
thinking something World War II poetry, or not poetry.
Exactly.
World War II, or even just Vietnam.
But
Something
based
like
on
that.
the setting, based on the
Depends
title.
on how you're approaching this and the background that you bring that you approach this work.
But I think by ending it by him just saying, so now I'm the man with the knives thrown at him, kind of, it leaves it up in the air where, you know, you don't know about the future, but in that instance right there, he found him and they found each other. And it's like that he was at the bottom of the barrel and now it's on his way up. But on his way up is still very precarious because he's just made a living out of being a human target.
Yeah.
So it's that dance on the knife's edge of, you know, you don't know where it's going to go, but at that instance...
He said he's thrilled. You know, he's absolutely thrilled about it. He's like, I don't have to work 12 seconds a night.
Exactly, which I absolutely
right.
love that too. And he's like, well, 12, maybe 20 seconds and I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
So I thought this was a pretty cool story.
yeah, I liked it.
Yeah,
it
I did.
It was a nice little read.
When I first read it, I thought it was very simple. But when I read it a second time, I think I got much more out of it because there was much more of... I picked up much more meaning from both Jupp and even the narrator, and the Jupp's strategy to
jump. That's like nice.
making
I like
a living out of this.
And what do you think of the meaning that they get out of the work?
About the meaning of what they get out of the work?
Yeah.
Out of
Well,
the whole
it's
entire
kinda-
act?
A real cut up.
Yeah, where it's kind of described like where it's a conversation that they have about, you know, whether you could smile for the audience and why he's able to smile for the audience, and the reason is
Oh, yeah.
because these people are terrified, and I'm able to convince them to show them that some fearlessness. You know, so it's kind of like an inspiration to people
Yeah.
who've just spent, like, you know, the last however many years or whatever, you know, getting their town completely bombarded, and obviously they're going to be terrified in that scene, in that situation. But he gives them a reason to, you know, to live again, right? In a way,
Yeah, it's that perfect
like it's an
balance
inspiration.
of... Yeah. Kind of almost cathartic.
Yeah.
in there, could there be a dangerous situation? But it's all smoke and mirrors at the end. I mean, there is real danger with it. He is actually wielding real sharp knives.
Yeah.
But it's a controlled environment in as much as
Controlled,
that
yeah.
it's a theater, and he's been doing this for quite a long time. So
I mean, one mistake, all it takes,
Yeah.
and that's for every profession.
Yeah, any kind of
Every
danger
profession.
act, one mistake
Yeah.
can be costly.
Yeah.
So, but
Doctors.
absolutely, like you said, it gives them something to live for. It's those few moments of holding your breath and not really knowing where it's going to end.
Is he gonna make it?
Yeah,
kind of the end of the story. How
And to inspire you to start taking some chances too. I mean, your own.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I didn't get that from there. That's good.
Also,
Let's buy that drum set.
With also.
but also, right, like that one thing that makes it like not just about bloodlust and cheap thrills, right? There's that one element of it is that you have to be kind of fearless, and in the end, it's the narrator that kind of takes that more so than the guy that's actually throwing the knives. Who gets to play that role?
It's good to be fearless, but it's also okay to admit to be scared, because once you say you're scared, you can move forward with what you're doing. So, and I think that was the tip-off, was him saying, like, do you want to do this? Are you game? And he said, I'm afraid. If you aren't afraid, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you're willing to take that risk. Because it's not a risk, it's just like something else. So I think that was kind of also like a confirmation. So saying, like, it's okay to be afraid. Move forward, take that chance. Because usually the person you're with, they know what they're doing. You hope.
Yeah.
You hope.
All right, doctor.
Yeah.
Put me on.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
about trust.
necessarily. On the first read, I had no idea what was going to happen.
No, neither did I.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. We don't have to.
It just kind of bombed out of my ear.
No
My
Tourette's.
apologies.
There's also trust that he shows
Yeah.
too, which is something that they could probably also use right in the audience, is like the idea that you can trust somebody.
That very genuine trust in a very fabricated situation.
Yeah.
I love that play of like two people learning how to trust each other without saying a word, set on the stage, and set even, which is even more ephemeral, behind the stage, because that's behind stage is that weird in between of you have the props and the costumes and stuff like that.
Anticipation's at its highest.
Yeah, and it's that fun in between.
lines, too.
I think probably one of the other favorite scene of mine is the clown that's performing, and they're done, and they walk off, and they just stand there, stare at jump, and then walk back out. Because that's 500% actual theater. Like when you're waiting for the encore, or you're waiting for the bow, is you walk off and you're like,
Exactly.
not everybody's that dour, but like it's that reality versus like what's on the stage. So
It's funny that
it
Heinrich
was
Boll
just
wrote
a
an
fun
awful.
scene.
The
Just
minute
like,
you walk behind that curtain, it's almost for most, as you said.
probably one of my favorite places in a theater is behind the curtain is the best seat in the house, is my personal. So that was
Being
a fun
on
You have
stage.
experience doing that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's why I connected with this so much, was that, the trust you have with somebody on stage. I mean, I haven't done anything with knives or anything that scary, but having the trust of knowing that whoever you're in that scene with will have your back and will trust you because they have yours.
Yeah.
So, and the behind stage reality, that terror way of showing, like, this is the real world versus, like, what's on stage.
I mean, and I've been on stage too, mostly performing with music, and you got to know you got to know who's gonna come in on that, who's gonna. Are you going to hit that gong when I tell you to? Are you going to hit that drum when I tell you to? That cymbal never went. So, man, we have to practice that again next time.
Just him whispering to the person as the last second, like, hey, this is what we're going to do.
The club
I'm
owner,
gonna,
right?
Yeah.
I can tell you that's the club owner.
Who pretends to be the policeman, like,
Yeah.
out of nowhere. just roll with it. It's got it. It's good. I got this.
You're gonna be
And
fine.
at first the owner's like, he's like, no way, like
And
you're
you can
not
tell
gonna do that.
Yeah, the conversation just by the way that he describes his physical reaction to Jupp, like leaning forward and like whispering to him, which I.
Because he looks over and shakes his head, like, but then the audience isn't engaged, right? And I think that's finally what convinces the club owner to say, all right, let's bring this other guy out here. And,
Yeah, it's like we're not gonna have to mop anything up. I got this. Yeah.
And then more revenue for you.
Exactly. So
Whatever brings in the most money.
Yeah, they get a bigger chunk.
it's a fun read. It was a fun short little read.
Was there anything else we wanted to say before we wrapped up?
And I think we hit every point that I'd want to make.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to read more short stories by Heinrich Boll. And if you are interested in reading this and more of Heinrich Boll's short stories,
big book.
here is a collection of his short stories.
I can see the knives on the
And
back.
I love the Heinrich Boll covers as well. It's just a simplistic
Oh, yeah, that's
image. The three
Minimalism.
pencils. Yep, they are very minimalist. His books, I want to make sure I have the titles properly, but he wrote a book called The Clown. He wrote The Safety Net, Billiards at 9:30.
Oh, I like billiards. Shooting
The
pool.
Train Was on Time,
I like trains.
Irish Journal.
I like Ireland.
A lot of people have had nice and great things to say about Ireland.
I haven't been there. But it
Group,
looks
group
great on
Portrait
TV.
with Lady. He wrote Katharina Bloom, something about her, and What's to Become of the Boy, or Something to Do with Books, a memoir, and then the collected stories. Or that's what's been published from here. But the Katharina Bloom, I think, was another publisher. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Literary Gladiators. Actually, hold up. There was actually a few. He wrote 2 other books that were released posthumously.
But wait, there's more.
We are hitting the brakes.
I'll leave links down below. I'll leave captions below to that. I know I read one of them. But
You
be
can
sure
find this story online too. It's great. It's like in an old book from the 1950s. It's like I guess like a New Yorker kind of
Yeah,
literary
it looked
magazine.
like it was a literary magazine because I have like a PDF scanned version that I was able to find.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I think
that's
it was
quite
cool.
impressive.
Yeah, it's from something called The Observer, I think, or The Reporter, or something like that. Something like that. It was from 1956. So that's kind of cool online.
Alrighty then.
It's
Be
got
sure-
pictures.
Are there sketches that are related to this, or
There's little like
made
illustrations
just
throughout.
Yeah.
specifically for this?
I believe so.
So,
Oh, that's always a fun, pleasant thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in literary magazines they'll just apply an image that they think fits, and in many cases it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, they
so
were
say
okay.
it, Josh.
I wasn't in it for the pictures.
Be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.
I like Ireland.